of the country's population. And if you deny us our identity, which church is that? There's no church marriage. Use the word Christian. And we who are Christians will find a means of saying the Catholics are Christians, the Anglicans are Christians, the Seventh-day Adventists are Christians, the born-agains are Christians. Of the Christian faiths in this country are not here. The two archbishops, the three eminences, they're not here. So it's unfair for us to discuss. We cannot represent them. We don't have that mandate here. Everyone came on your invitation. We are going to go back and discuss this whole thing. But I want to leave on this note that word Christian is that word church there is very vague and absurd. Don't use it. We want to use another word. It's called Christian. Thank you very much. So there's nothing Christian, there's nothing religious about that thing. What we want to establish now is a religious law that takes care of Christian marriages. You've not gotten it yet. The civil marriages is applicable to any marriage that is seeking for legal stance, and that has not come yet. So that needs to be erased before we leave to there's no church marriage, there's no Christian marriage. Actually, there's not even Muslim marriages are not here yet. So we contend, we aver and contend that what you are telling us now is yet to come. It is not here yet.
Point well taken.
Brother, I am the presiding apostle of the born-again faith. What was presented today, first, was the introduction of a new ministry. Marriages are going to be under internal affairs as a ministry, as opposed to where they have been for ages at the Ministry of Constitutional Justice and Constitutional Affairs. To us, we have no problem with that. We can always move wherever. Even if they change their mind tonight, we would still go. What we want are marriages that are recognized by law and marriages that are officiated to the satisfaction of each faith as we would require them. So to us, that's no problem. When we got here this morning, we were given a list of the marriages recognized in Uganda. And the list was, number one, civil marriages. Then they said church marriages. Then they said Muslim marriages, customary marriages, and of course they said, okay, now when you read the act where all these laws come from, there is nothing like a Muslim marriage. It is a Mohammedan Marriages Act that rules it. So it's therefore a Mohammedan marriage. If that is going to be changed, that they need to tell us that that change has already been effected, because we are waiting for those changes to come in the next bill, in the coming bill. Then the Christian marriages, which they've called church marriages, that does not apply to any marriage in this country. All marriages since 1904 have been conducted under the Civil Marriages Act, church marriages. So I think the confusion is with the people who are trying to now gamble through this whole thing before the next bill is passed into law. Have been changed. And some of those are not for our good. For example, in the proposals which we did not discuss, there are changes on the Civil Marriages Act. If the bill passes as it is, civil marriages will become polygamous. And we've had this for a long time, and we told them, if you are going to make civil marriages polygamous, then you must separate these with Christian marriages. The Christian marriages can never be at any time polygamous. That's who we are, and that's what we want. Now, in the bill, the change has been effected. But there are things that are not yet mentioned. There are areas, there are certain marriages or marriage systems that are not catered for in the bill. And that's where the next discussion should be. That before the bill is passed, they need to know that there are certain marriage systems that have not been catered for and therefore need to be included in the bill before it is passed.
Transition is first of all within the law, because there was an amendment within the law where we have seen a transfer of marriage matters from URSB to NIRA. We believe it will increase service delivery since it is introducing new systems like filing an application online, like filing returns online, which we believe can quicken service delivery. Because previously people were filling in many forms, someone has to travel from very far to come and file returns, which is changing today. That you'll just sit on your computer, file an application, fill in the returns, and then automatically submit to NIRA. To us, it is a very, very good initiative. However, we see it as a challenge, especially where people don't have access to computer facilities, people especially from rural areas where there is no power, for them to be able to expeditiously file these applications online. However, it is a good process which requires probably government and churches to invest more in ICT such that they're able to file these applications online. However, as the Catholic Church and other Christian religions represented here, we have presented a challenge that our colleagues, the Muslims, under Article 129 of the Constitution, they have mandate under the law to handle marriage and divorce matters within the card courts. However, this provision is not available for the rest of the religions. Because, for example, in the Catholic Church, we have what we call the ecclesiastical courts, which also equally make decisions. But these decisions cannot be enforced. For example, if a marriage tribunal of the Catholic Church nullifies a marriage, the marriage tribunal may not have mandate over issues of property, issues of custody of children. Reason because that tribunal is not recognized under the civil law. So our advocacy and request to government is that let other Christian religions, marriage tribunals and councils be also recognized by government in terms of handling internal matters regarding marriage. Some people do not want to take their marriage disputes in civil courts. They would prefer to handle their disputes in ecclesiastical courts or in church courts. But as I said, these ecclesiastical courts are not recognized by the law of Uganda. So our call is, like Article 129 recognizes card courts for the Muslims, we should have a recognition of a similar structure within other faith institutions.
Thank you so much.
Presents a national ID in the names of the other, then also applies it on the other side. How do you handle that? Is there any room to bridge the gaps? Then lastly, most of our members who are in diaspora have issues. Some of them try to have work permits and the rest other documents of residence in the countries where they went. Now, most of them find themselves in a situation whereby their passports have expired. And to you, we're saying you cannot have an ID, national ID, without a passport. Now we're also saying you cannot register marriage without a national ID. And most of them are lamenting that there are no services in the countries where they are at the embassies to acquire a national ID. So how can those people in the diaspora help in such a situation?
My name is Vincent Katutsi. I serve as a Commissioner Civil Registration at NIRA. Today's engagement is a very special engagement because since RAPEX, as you all know, government rationalized its agencies, okay, and transferred some of the services from institutions such as URSB, which was handling marriages, now to NIRA, to have them in the same home, under the same roof. So now NIRA handles all events concerning a person, birth, death, marriages, adoption, and things of that kind, what we call vital events. So now today's engagement was a maiden engagement where the ED NIRA, who is appointed by law as the Registrar General, was unveiling herself to the stakeholders, the churches. You saw the Muslim leaders, you saw traditional leaders, you saw our town clerks and cows, unveiling herself unto them, and also bring forth the fact of the transfer of these services to NIRA, and to say that going forward, whatever services you've been getting from URSB now are services you get from NIRA. If you remember, we had a presentation to say what changed and what did not change. We said the law did not change. What only changed were the instruments that were appointing various players under the laws. So today, marriages are under NIRA. Law provides for when marriages should be registered. Okay? So when a marriage is, let me begin with a customary marriage. Once you go and you have your kwanjula done, a couple and witnesses are supposed to appear before the sub-county chief or the town clerk and have their marriage registered. So the town clerk maintains the register of this marriage. And then the town clerk is supposed to transmit this record to the Registrar General, who keeps now a repository of all marriages at a national level. So it should be really within a short time possible, because you don't want to lose time. Same as church marriages. When the church has solemnized its marriage, it's supposed to make a reference to the cow, okay, of the same record. The cow takes a record of this marriage in his marriage district and then transmits this record to government, to the Registrar General. Again, that marriage would be registered at the Registrar General's office. The same happens for civil marriages, which the cow handles. After the cow has handled them, it's supposed to transmit them to the Registrar General again to have a repository of these marriages in the national office. So the role of the Registrar General now is to keep all these records and also become a clearing house. Should you want to use your record, you should be able to go to them and then pick, evidence of the marriage having occurred, maybe a certified copy of the same, and then use it for other purpose. Maybe 2 billion, from the whole collections of all these marriages that are registered, yes. Have, like I said, various types of marriages, okay? And whoever conducts them is authorized to conduct them. So yes, they are marriages, but this is in as far as preparation is concerned. Now, for you to now make reference to this marriage, there has got to be a place where this marriage is cleared at a government level. We understand? So churches are authorized by getting a license to celebrate marriages, okay? So once the marriage is solemnized, then they are supposed to make a return that yes, we have wedded X and Y, and this is evidence of their marriage. Then the government takes now a record and keeps a record that X and Y were married by church X. So the marriages of the churches, of course, are good marriages. The nikahs are good marriages. Customary marriages are good marriages, but they are better off transmitted for registration purposes to have a central repository. Proxy marriages today under our laws are not marriages. Now, we have had our colleagues, the Muslim brothers and sisters, telling us that for them they can have such engagements. That's according to their faith. Now, marriage has the tendency that it must really have. For example, there has to be free will, consent. And it is hard for you to consent unless you are there in person. We had things like marriages by Zoom and things of the kind. Now Zoom, the last I checked, is a screen. So you cannot know who is behind and probably forcing someone to say certain things. So if you want to have a proper marriage, then chances are you're going to have this marriage where people are actually present. So we do not have marriages by proxy. Marriages of where people are being wedded with pictures. Those are too westernized for us now, because if it's a customary marriage, all of us know that it's the two homes that come together. What I must emphasize, however, is that Muslim marriages, they follow the rights and the norms, the practices of the Islamic faith. So if indeed they are allowed that you can have a proxy marriage in Islam, then maybe it's a question of debate for now. Yes, we are not here to change the practices of the Islamic faith, but we are to say, but what if the person that you claim to have wedded by proxy comes out and challenges you? What evidence will you have that, for example, they consented? So maybe as we do what we do, we must also think about how things are moving. Certain laws, certain customs, certain practices might also appear repugnant to what would appear as good conscience in terms of, for example, how do we prove consent, okay? How do we say X and Y were in Dubai and America respectively, but the function happened in Uganda and it was a marriage. There are those issues. But like I want to emphasize again, if that's how it happens in Islam, then we recognize it and respect it. Maybe some marriages you begin by falling in love. I hope each one of you has got somebody like that. So you fall in love, you must be of age. There are things you must really have. It must be a man and a woman, okay? So don't come with your other stories of yours. It has to be a man and a woman. They have got to be of age of consent, 18 years and above. They must not be related to each other, okay? Now, for a marriage to happen in Kampala here, you must be residents of Kampala, or at least you must have been in this jurisdiction for the last 15 days. And the things we ask for is, how long have you been in the marriage district in which you want to get married? So the 15 days. All these things are approved by affidavit, okay? You do an affidavit, then you also fill out a notice form. A notice form is an equivalent of what you call bands in church marriages, okay? So the notice is filled out with your names, the names of the spouses as proposed, of the man and the wife and the woman as proposed, and then they are hung on a notice board for 21 days, okay? 21 days to allow anybody who says, this is my wife, this is so-and-so's wife, I know this other person, who has an issue to raise, like you would in the church bands, would come up and raise them in 21 days. After 21 days, now the party is free, the couple that has really come before us and made that notice is now free to get what? To get married. And this marriage is handled before a registrar of marriages, and registrars of marriages are appointed by law. In Kampala, it's the ED, NIRA. In the districts, it is the chief administrative officers. So let no other person confuse you that you're carrying out a civil marriage and they are not people who are appointed by law to do that.
Obufumbo okuva mu Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Manya gange nze Dr. Joseph Serwadda. Ndi presiding apostle or born again faith mu ggwanga lino. Akati fe tetulaba buzibu bwa kujja bufumbo gye bubadde kubutwala walala in terms of ministry. Kubanga era ekitongole kya Constitutional Affairs oba Justice and Constitutional Affairs oba ministry ne internal affairs byonna bitongole bya government. Ekyo tetukirinaako buzibu. Ekyo si kizibu gye tuli. Ekyo tetukifaako. Ekyokubiri, abakulu abaatuyise bwe babadde batuwandiikira ebika by'obufumbo obukkirizibwa mu Uganda, baatuwadde ebika bibino. Bagambye civil marriages bwe bufumbo bw'owa DC, ne bagamba nti church marriages obukolerwa mu masinzizo kanisa n'amakereziya, ne batugamba nti Muslim marriages, ne basako ne customary marriages, ne basako ne Hindu marriages. Batuwadde records 5. Akati wali mu kutandika batutegeezezza nti teboogerera mu biiru empya gye bayita marriages bill ya 2024 si gye boogereramu, boogerera mu mateeka makadde. Kati mu mateeka amakadde teriiyo kye bayita church marriage. Mu mateeka amakadde okuva mu mwaka gwa 1940 tugattira abagole mu tteeka erya Civil Marriages Act. So teri kye bayita Christian marriages. Netteeka eryalibadde liriraanyeeko katono eryafuluma mu 1906 erifuga obufumbo bw'abasiraamu, ate nalyo era tebaliyita Muslim marriages, baliyita Mohammedan Marriages Act. Kakati bano ndowooza bakozesezza lugezigezi okukyusa enjogera y'etteeka batulaga oba kye tutegeera nga tulinga tabatamanyi mateeka. Kati tulese tubagolodde nti bwe baba bagala okukozesa ekigambo church marriages ne liri ery'obusiraamu baliyite mosque marriages, tikiriyo. Ekituufu kiri nti netteeka lyogera bulala, nabo boogedde bulala.
Nze Semwanga Frederick, ndi munnamateeka ku Uganda Episcopal Conference. Okukyusa ekitongole ekikola ku by'obufumbo okukijja mu URSB ne bakiteeka mu NIRA kizze mu nkyukakyuka y'amateeka era tekijjeewo buvunaanyizibwa bwaffe nga church. Ekikyuseemu nti bakijje mu kitongole ekirala ne bakiteeka mu kitongole ekirala, naye amateeka agaddukanya oba agalambika ebyobufumbo gasigadde geegamu, era amateeka ago getugenda okusigala nga tukyagoberera, wabula kitulaba ekikyuseemu era kyetulaba nti kijja kwanguya enkola y'emirimu kwe kufayiringa kyetuyita returns nga oyita ku mutimbagano. Kati luli babadde bawandiika empapula naye kakati kyetulabyemu ekiyinza okwanguya nti teweetaaga kutambula na mpapula nnyingi kuva mu parish oba kuva gy'obeera mu kyalo okusobola okuleeta returns ku URSB nga bwe kibadde. Kati omuntu ajja kuba asobola okutuula ku kompyuta ye n'ajjuzaamu oba n'akola okusaba kwe ng'ayita ku mutimbagano. Kyensuubira nti nno kijja kwanguyaamu enzirukanya y'emirimu, lwakuba nti kijja kubeeramu okusomoozebwa especially oba naddala ku bitundu eby'omu byalo ewatali kompyuta gye batalina masannyalaze, nti sisitimu eno egamba nti olina okufayiringa returns mu nnaku 10 oluvannyuma lw'okukola embaga oba olw'okugatta abagole, nga omuntu talina masannyalaze, omuntu talina sisitimu zinga kompyuta, kijja kuleetawo okulwisaamu oba okutaataaganyizibwa.